Alt-right figures who are vocal supporters of white supremacist and America First podcaster Nick Fuentes in an FBI Justice.gov report.
Maybe it depends on how much government aid and how much U.S. tax dollars you are getting.
So, okay, got it. So if it's like, if you get like a 10% loan, then it's like you have to follow just 10% of the Constitution. So it's like you can't bring an AK-47 into the car dealership. You can bring in a Glock. You can't say the N-word with a hard R. You can say the N-word with a soft A, okay? You got the 10% loan. While we're on the subject of big tech censorship, our favorite, Small Dick Fuentes, was just banned from Twitter. He's lasted for quite a while on the platform, so I guess props to him. He blocks anyone that criticizes him on there, because if you're blocked, you can't report the person. So maybe that helped him a little while. He also was pretty careful in toning down his rhetoric on Twitter. Although recently, he's kind of let it slip more and more when he was talking about the degenerate gays or something. Twitter confirmed that it banned Fuentes after repeated violations of its rules without offering further information. The Anti-Defamation League on Thursday published an article on its blog entitled Nicholas J. Fuentes 5 Things to Know, in which it accused Fuentes of using his platform to make numerous anti-Semitic and racist comments. Yeah, I'm sure. That doesn't surprise me, coming from the known neo-Nazi. Fuentes responded on his Telegram account claiming that Twitter suspended him because of the ADL report, saying he was permanently suspended hours later. Fuentes is also banned by YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, Spotify, Venmo, Stripe, and Clubhouse, among others. Fuentes has been labeled a white supremacist by the FBI in a court document. I didn't know that. Oh, this just keeps getting better. Alt-right figures who are vocal supporters of white supremacist and America First podcaster Nick Fuentes in an FBI Justice.gov report. With the big tech censorship thing, with more and more information and more data coming out proving my point, with more and more evidence coming out showing that those who break the rules, like disgusting neo-Nazi anti-Semitic fucks, they get banned for violating TOS, not because they're a simple conservative who just wants to be fiscally responsible. Okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna take a little gulp of my own cum. I like being right. And since my 2019 speech, not only have I continued to be proven right, I have been continued to be proven righter. Fuentes is an avowed member of the Groyper Army, ADL describes as a white supremacist group. True, yes, he's previously defended segregation.
For them too, number one, but number two, who cares? Who cares? You know, enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares? Oh, they had to drink out of a different water fountain. Big fucking deal. Oh no, they had to go to...
Okay, so there's that. That's cool. He denied parts of the Holocaust, though he later said he was joking about his Holocaust comments. Do we need to pull up the clip where he admitted to lying?
You know, when it comes to something like Holocaust revision, I mean, this is a subject that you cannot deviate from the popular consensus on. But you also can't, like, I also think you really can't tell the truth if you adhere to that. So it's sort of like getting in the middle. It's being provocative. It's being... I can't explain this in a very explicit way. You're going to have to just sort of get what I'm saying here. When it comes to a lot of these issues, you need a little bit of maneuverability that irony gives you. Oh, well, you know, what does that mean? Well, I was being ironic. Well, I was joking. Well, it's whatever. Well, you don't understand the tone. Well, you don't understand humor.
Don't care. Tech companies control what we're allowed to say in our own country. It has to stop. Oh, God. Dude, you hearing this shit? You're not even allowed to fucking deny the Holocaust on Twitter anymore. Oh, my God. What's happening to free speech? Orwellian. So we don't really know why he was banned yet, but one can only assume he did or said something that would violate TOS, or maybe has repeatedly been doing that. Or maybe Twitter realized that he was using his platform to spread harmful information, so they felt the need to ban him. Keep in mind that under Section 230, these tech companies aren't even required to give an explanation. Now, I do think that they should, and I do think that, you know, the more transparency, the better. I'm sure they'll give a reason soon. But either way, Nick Fuentes, he kind of had this coming, and this is, again, the consequences of his own actions. Hey, Gen Z Patriot, can you get in my Discord, please? Because you've been talking mad shit in my comments, and I'm getting really sick of it.
Hello?
Gen Z Patriot, how you doing, man? I see you talking some mad shit in my chat. Are you a real person? Do you actually have something you want to say, or are you just another troll?
You're the one that called me, so I'd like to know what your argument is.
Well, I don't know. What's your argument? You said Hunter's never right. Hunter's wrong about everything, which I'm sure is hyperbolic.
Yeah,
So
mostly it's big tech censorship, first of all.
okay.
I don't know exactly your position on abortion because I don't spend much time watching you.
All right. So let's
yeah.
focus on the one that you know more about, which would be the big tech censorship thing. So why do you think I'm wrong
All right,
on
let's
that?
go for it. All right. So you know how you say that these platforms have the right to cancel people that they disagree with?
Yeah.
Or they have the right to ban anyone and they don't have to give an explanation. Although you think they should, you don't think they have to.
Yeah. They
That's
don't
your
have
position, correct?
to. They legally do not have to. Yeah. But I still think they should. Yeah.
But my argument for that is if they're funded by the government, which they do get some money from the government, I could pull up that stat if you would like me to.
Tech companies get money
then-
from the government? Do you mean like subsidies or something? If like during economic crises or something?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
well, by that logic, virtually every business has gotten something from the government. So that's not fair for you to say that because they got certain funding from the government during an economic crisis, they're somehow converted to like agents of the state or something. That's laughable.
But
So
do you
let's forget
think-
that one
but
and move
you-
on to the point. Go on.
No, because if you think that they get money from the government to help themselves survive through pandemics or whatever, then they should be able to silence opposition that they politically disagree with.
No, this is such a weird and terrible like stretch you're trying to make. You're talking about getting loans, like basically, loans during economic crises, which like multiple
they don't have
hold
to
on,
always pay them
multiple
off.
companies get loans like this that help them during economic crises because that benefits the economy overall. I don't understand it that well, but I know that just getting some funding from the government at one point does not mean that you're no longer a private company with your own First Amendment rights and ability to protect your own platform from certain speech. So no, that's just factually incorrect. So why don't we move off that really dumb point and go on to the next thing?
Okay, I mean, I have an argument for that, but if you can't handle it, then yeah.
It's not that I can't handle it, it's that it doesn't make any sense. So I don't see any reason in further going through this. So why don't you go on? So other than they got money once from the government or something, how am I wrong about big tech censorship?
Okay, so you know how you say they're a private business, okay? So they can't so they could censor anyone they want, whether you have political disagreement with them or you like just any disagreement whatsoever at all. You could cancel them. You said that, correct?
I mean, if the big tech companies actually wanted to, they could, again, legally, but they would never do that because that would not be in their best business
That's what
interest.
they do. That's what they do.
Wait, you think that they would just
silence
ban people arbitrarily?
that they disagree with. No, that they disagree with politically. That's what they do.
Okay. Are you a troll, dude? Are you like trying to?
No,
Because these are things that I've like so swiftly and heavily debunked so many different times, and I'm kind of just surprised that you're coming on here so confidently saying things that are so stupid. But I mean, where do you want to start from with that? Like, do you want to go over the data and look at how these big tech companies are not in fact like how conservatives have a prominent position on social media platforms, and there doesn't really seem to be this algorithmic bias? Do you want to start there?
sure, you could go for it.
Okay.
Give me your position.
Okay, sure. So I'll go ahead and send this over to you. I'm putting it in your little your Discord here. Go ahead and click this.
Okay,
This is an in-depth study that was done, okay? And it shows how on Facebook, for example, right-wing content does incredibly well. In fact, right-wing content consistently dominates Facebook. You can scroll down here and see on YouTube the way that the algorithm works. Partisan left and partisan right get roughly the same amount of video views, and then partisan right and partisan left get about roughly the same amount of video hours watched. So
But do you want to contribute that to the fact that the algorithms are helping, or do you want to contribute that to the fact that more people are conservative and more people listen to these conservative voices and they look it up and they're interested?
even if they are, it does. So what? Yeah, they're looking it up and they're getting there on the big tech platforms. They're dominating these big tech platforms. There is not this algorithmic suppression of people that are conservative or have conservative beliefs. It's just not there. And again, that would not make sense for the company's business interest to do that. Why the fuck would they want to ban people if they're getting a lot of engagement? Conservatives, like from this study, as it demonstrates, conservatives that follow the rules are very successful on social media.
What do you mean follow the rules, though? Because you just admitted that they could make up the rules.
They could, but they aren't. The TOS is there.
Yes, they are.
No, it's not. The TOS is there. You can read it. It's very transparent. You can understand it for the most part. And yeah, I mean, again, it wouldn't be in their best business interest to try and make up a bunch of rules. Anybody that likes pineapple on pizza will now be banned. Twitter rule number 33. Like, that would make no sense for them. They don't want to do that.
Do you think that they would rather suppress a few voices from only about probably 2 to 3% of the business they get from online, probably less than that actually, or do you think that they would rather have power and the other 98% of the business? They would rather have power.
I'm not sure I'm following.
Over speech, okay? So you're saying it's in their best interest to
it is
conservative voices going, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't care about that 2% profit. They're already making so much money, the billionaires. But what the billionaires would rather have, like Mark Zuckerberg, than that 2% more profit is power to silence their opponents.
Wait, but they already have power.
Yeah, but they would rather have actual political influence, which is what they have.
But they already have power, and they also have a business and a vested interest in trying to make more money.
But they would rather have more power than
so you're saying that Zuckerberg is like sitting back, like banning people because he likes the rush it gives him to have power?
Well, the reason they're doing this is so that they could have power over their political opponents, and so that they could push voices out that they agree with and silence voices that they disagree with.
So, okay, question then. If they are then doing that, then why are we not seeing this borne out in the data? Why is Breitbart not banned? Why is the Daily Caller not banned? Why is Fox News not banned? Why?
Because they can't ban everyone at once. It makes it look too transparent.
They can only ban the people that deliberately and repeatedly break their rules. Strange.
No, they can't. You just admitted that they could ban anyone.
They could. Again, they could. They have the ability to, but they aren't doing that.
Yeah. But that's my point. That's what.
No, your point right now is there is no point. The point is you have no evidence. So you're saying first, oh well, they're doing really good because conservatives just want to look at the page. Oh well, they're just doing really good because we don't know yet. They can't just ban all the pages because you're just making things up as you go.
I'm not making things up. First, I provided you evidence that they get money from the government that they don't have to pay full off.
Which doesn't mean anything. That's irrelevant. That has something that's entirely different. You're talking about loans like a PPP loan or like a COVID loan or something else. That's to help employers continue to pay their employees. This does not turn you into a state agent. I thought we already went over that. We should leave that behind. Trust me, dude.
Yeah, but I'm telling
you don't want to make that argument. Okay. It's very dumb. So let's not make that argument.
Okay, but I'm just telling you all them arguments.
Okay, can I ask how old you are? Because people in chat are asking if I'm arguing with someone who's
16.
Why do I have all these 16-year-olds that are like mega conservative coming on here to argue with me?
I don't know. Maybe because they see your stupidity.
All right, I guess we can continue the conversation for a little longer then, because I since you're young, I think I have a feeling that you'll grow out of this. I think you will.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you will.
Definitely.
No, I'm not even trying to be condescending. I was 16 once. All right. I had my right-wing phase when I was young. I understand. I know how it is, but
yeah.
I think that as you get a little older and then, read some studies and shit, you might change your mind on that. But again, I'll take us back to the topic, which is if Mark Zuckerberg is trying to get such a power rush, why are they not banning these conservative pages? Why did they ban Donald Trump only after he had violated the rules, even though he had violated rules in the past and they didn't ban him? He had literally tweeted, when the looting starts, the shooting starts, which could easily be interpreted as a call to violence. They didn't ban him then. They only banned him after the January 6th thing. So tell me, if he's out this big rush for power, like, I don't really understand where it is.
But you just asked me, why aren't they banning everybody at once? Do you really think that Facebook could get away with just wiping all conservatives off of their platform? Do you think they could logistically get away with that?
Do you think that that's what they want to do?
Right now, no. In the future, I do.
So you think their future goal is to just get all conservatives off and just have a Democrat echo chamber website where they are basically alienating 50% of the country and massive profit margins?
Well, there's still people that would use these websites for other things except politics. They want to actually wipe out 50% of the country. That's what you're ignoring.
If they were
still conservative.
So you think
There's
they want to just ban all
conservatives that would-
conservative speech then?
In 30, 40 years, yes.
Okay.
That I feel like that's one also reason.
You're just giving
to
me
try
a
to
lot of
change-
feelings right now, so it's kind of I don't really know how to argue with it, I guess, because
I feel like what if they banned you for no reason at all? Would
I
you be
have
okay
been
with
banned
that?
before.
Okay, but were you okay with that? Did you think it was justified?
Well, at the time, no. But looking back now, yeah. On Twitter,
So you
for
think
sure.
that-
I was banned on Twitter back in 2017. It definitely was justified.
Okay, so your ban was justified.
On Twitter, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So you agree that if you're causing rhetoric or you're doing stuff that violates their stupid policies, then it's fair to be banned. And that's your opinion, I guess.
Well,
you think
that's
that
not
they're a
just
private
my
company.
opinion. That's everyone's opinion when they sign up for these tech companies, because that's what you agree with, whether you like it or not. Like, right now, we're abiding by Discord's TOS by talking on Discord.
Yes, exactly.
So we already agree with that. We have to, right?
Yes, but if, again, Discord gets stuff from the government, or if they have a public shareholder...
Do you think
I
just
don't-
getting money from the government in any context means that you become an agent of the state and have to abide
I
by,
don't
like,
think you become an
constitutional
agent of the
standards?
state. No, I don't think that's the case, but I don't think you could just silence any speech that you don't like.
So do you know what Section 230 is?
I've read up on it, but I'm not 100% aware of it now.
So do you understand the basics of it, though, is that it gives these tech companies immunity. It gives them the ability to police their own platform.
Yes.
Because they have a First Amendment right as well. And it also gives them the right not to be held liable by, like, a user or, like, for copyright content. Right? So
Yes.
okay. So I'm trying to think where I want to take this with you. I kind of forgot my train of thought there. The caller still needs his parents' consent to take an aspirin from the school nurse. Hey, chat, please stop distracting me, okay? I'm trying to talk.
Sorry.
No, you can go ahead. So you understand what Section 230 is. Do you think that by getting money from the government, you lose your Section 230 protections?
No, but what I do think, if you get money from the government or you get aid from the government to keep your business alive, is I think that the government should have some standards that you have to follow where you can't silence any speech that you do disagree with, or you can't silence everything. You have that your terms of service that take people off of the platform.
So you think the government should come up to these tech companies and basically, kind of in layman's terms, I guess, say something like, yo, if we're going to help you out here, then you have to abide by these certain standards.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I would just completely disagree with that, because isn't that a business?
Why?
Because if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the government coercing a private business, and I'm pretty sure that would be illegal or have some kind of an issue there. I'm pretty sure the government can't say, okay, we'll give you this loan, but then you have to run your business this way. I'm pretty sure that would set a pretty bad standard for the country.
But why? If the government is giving taxpayer dollars to these, like,
Any
our
money the
taxpayer
government gives
dollars-
to anything is taxpayer. Stop trying to put taxpayer dollars in like it means something. It's not.
But it does.
Okay, so you've already acknowledged that getting money from the government doesn't turn it into a state actor. And you've already acknowledged that getting money from the government doesn't repeal the Section 230. So getting money from the government has no bearing on how these tech companies manage their platforms. You've acknowledged
I'm saying
that.
it should. I'm saying
Okay.
it should. That's how
Okay, I
it should
got it.
be.
I understand what you're saying, is that the government should pretty much coerce private businesses.
Not if they're not giving aid. If these companies don't take aid from these businesses, then for sure. They can do whatever they want. They're a free company.
I'm pretty sure this is something illegal specifically. Hold on. Wrongfully
All right.
influencing a private entity's employment decisions by a member of Congress or an officer or employee of the legislative executive branch. All right, so this might not be a direct one-to-one comparison, but it is illegal to wrongfully influence a private entity's employment decisions, which I bet that would fall in line with other decisions as well, by members of Congress. So I'm not sure if this is a direct one-to-one comparison, but I feel as if this is comparable enough that there's already seems to be a precedent there that it seems wrong for members of Congress or the government, of the legislative or executive branch, to try and influence private entities' decisions.
But
that seems like
that's
a
not what I'm
really
saying.
yikesy standard to set. So
but that's not what And that's not what I'm saying they should do, but I'm saying if these companies come up to them and ask them for federal aid, then the government should be like, well, we get something in return if you're using our taxpayer dollars.
Okay, I don't know how the loans work exactly and if they have to pay them back or not. I know you said they don't, but I don't know if that's true or not. But do you realize this is you're promoting like a form of authoritarianism almost, like the government basically like in bed with private industry, the government having sway on private entities' employment decisions or decisions in general. This just seems like a really bad precedent to set, and I don't think that you understand the kind of harm that would come from something like this. Like this would be a trampling of some of our constitutional rights far more than these private tech companies banning people sometimes would ever be.
What constitutional right would that break? I would like to know.
Well, I think that it would undermine fundamental principles of our country if we have the government influencing private entities. Not only does that go against U.S. code, it's like I said, it sets a very dangerous standard. Where are we going to draw the line then? Can governments just influence private entities no matter what? Can governments say, hey, we'll give you this loan as long as you promote this candidate for the upcoming election? Like how?
But that's not what it would be.
So it's only if we're going to give these big tech companies, so only the big tech companies have to be held to these standards. What about Ford or Chevrolet or these other companies they've had to bail out before?
It depends. It depends. It has to be in the Constitution. So, for example, guns, yes, if you're going to give them federal aid, then they should be required to allow guns to come in their building if they're registered, of course.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what you're saying right now is that what should happen is if the government gives you a loan, you should then have to abide by constitutional standards.
Yes.
Okay, great. So it took us a little time to get here, but good. Okay. So that's the fundamental disagreement that you have here that doesn't make sense at all. Taking money, getting an aid, like getting bailout from the government does not transform you into a state or into a state agent. You do not have to abide by constitutional standards. You can still exist as a private business. Again, we already went over how this would be a violation, or at least getting very close to a violation of U.S. code. This would be violating the law. We can't have the government saying, we'll give you this money if you do this with your business. That puts us into a really bad territory, and it puts us a step closer to authoritarianism, honestly. So
it's not authoritarianism if you're making companies follow the Constitution. That's not authoritarianism.
Yes, it is. If you are literally, yes, it actually would be. If the government were to step in and say, we're not going to give you this loan unless you follow by constitutional standards. I mean, I guess they could turn down the loan, but the government doesn't really have a right to be forcing private businesses and telling them how to run their company.
Because they would be taking the loan. That's not forcing them to take it. If they're completely on their own, then sure, they could do whatever they want.
So just deny the loan, and then so they could deny the loan and risk their company going under, like hundreds of thousands of people perhaps losing their jobs. Like, do you realize the economic fallout that could happen from this? Do you realize like the kind of coercion that would be, like a government on
So you
on a
think
private
that
industry?
Twitter would fall if they don't get government aid?
I don't know. I don't know how much government aid they get. I don't know how that looks. I don't know the full extent to it. But what I do know is that getting money from the government, whether it's a fucking loan or not, does not turn you into a state agent. This is just such a laughable position. Like, I've never even heard a position this bizarre. I'm not even sure how to like argue with it even.
It just doesn't make sense. You're just like basically saying that following making businesses follow the Constitution is a form of authoritarianism. I just can't wrap my head around that.
Because what you're basically advocating for is the government getting involved and influencing private entities.
Yes, if they are
via coercion by offering them loans
in
exchange for them to do something with them. Like,
but they could only do that if the governments take the loans first of all, and they can't influence anything else if it's outside of the Constitution. They can't influence anything.
But what if a private company doesn't want you to be able to bring a gun into their business? What if a private company doesn't want you to scream the N-word in their business? Should those private companies have to abide by the Constitution because one time they got a loan? I'm trying to think of a car dealership. I'm pretty sure, wasn't it like Chevrolet that got like this big bailout one time or something like that? There was some car company that got a big bailout. I'm thinking of that. What if that company's like, well, now we got a loan, so that was the only way that we could save our business, because in that case it was. So now we're stuck here. Yeah, I know. Racist Uncle Joe over here. He's screaming the N-word over and over again. But Constitution says hate speech is free speech. We can't do anything about it.
Well, what do you mean hate speech? Like,
The Constitution has ruled the Supreme Court has ruled that the First Amendment right protects hate speech.
Yes,
you can't not call hate speech. Okay, sure. So
you can say anything as long as it's not threatening anybody.
Okay, so I could walk into a car dealership and scream the N-word and it would be wrong. The company could not ask me to leave. That's what you're telling me right now?
If you're not doing any physical harm or threatening or doing any vocal harm, then no.
So do you think that if I go into a business screaming the N-word, that might hurt the company from making money or selling cars? If every time you walk in to buy a car, there's some kid in the corner yelling the N-word, do you think that might affect their profits?
Maybe, but I wouldn't necessarily think so.
So you don't... Okay. Let's assume... Wait. Let's assume for the sake of argument that it would. Because I know for a fact that if you walked into a car dealership and someone was screaming the N-word, that would eventually lead to affecting your profits.
Okay. Yeah, fair. I'd say that's fair.
Okay, so do you realize by what you're saying, your standards, that company would not be allowed to ask that person to leave, and that could affect their business?
Well, I guess it depends. Like, if they're getting billions of dollars from the government, they should have to keep the constitutional standards. But I guess this is my new position is maybe it depends on how much government aid and how much U.S. tax dollars you are getting.
So okay, got it. So if you get like a 10% loan, then it's like you have to follow just 10% of the Constitution. So it's like you can't bring an AK-47 into the car dealership. You can bring in a Glock. You can't say the N-word with a hard R. You can say the N-word with a soft A, okay? You got the 10% loan. Is that what are these the standards that we're setting here?
No, I guess what I'm saying though is government, if they're giving someone $1,000 bailout, it shouldn't be the same as if taxpayers are paying $40 million to Twitter. That's not an actual number. That's just a philosophical.
So first thing I want to just acknowledge is you recognize that anytime the government spends money, it's like taxpayer money, right? Like that's how the government gets a flow of money. So,
most of the time.
Okay, sure. So that doesn't really mean anything. What you're saying here, like you're not even able to explain to me how this would work. Not only would your solution ultimately lead to really bad outcomes, like having a government coercing private entity, but your solution would also lead to these private institutions not being able to protect their freedom of speech and their freedom of association, even if it's at the cost of their business. Like, I don't think you understand how bizarre your argument is right now.
But it's not their freedom of speech to silence anyone that they disagree with. That's not freedom of speech.
First of all, you would have to tell me where they're doing that. We already looked at the data. That doesn't really seem to be happening. Second of all, yeah, it doesn't really seem to be happening.
So you don't think more conservatives get banned from companies like Twitter and YouTube than Democrats?
Oh, they do, yeah. But it's not because they're conservative. It's because they break the rules way more often.
What do you think the rules are targeted towards conservatives?
No.
So you don't think that they form the rules around what conservatives are saying?
No, this is what I mean. Is like you think there's like some smoky room where they're all like, yes, let's make these rules where the conservatives will now no longer be like, no, they have very simple policies. I think the one you're probably getting at is the one where it says you can't misgender people. And that one falls very well in line with Twitter's goal to make money at the end of the day, right? So if you have a large group of trans people that are using your platform consistently getting harassed, then that might lead to getting more people to leave your platform and ultimately hurting your business. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, their goal is to keep as many people as possible on their platform. And if trans people are getting on there constantly being harassed and misgendered, then they might want to, clear out that behavior. This makes complete sense to me.
Okay, and I think that's just where we have a fundamental disagreement, is that you think since they're a private business, the government can't do anything about them silencing speech because they're a private business, or even though they're getting taxpayer dollars, and they can't say that you literally have your First Amendment right.
Because they're private business. Yeah, there is no First Amendment stuff here.
Okay, then that's where we disagree with, because I think if you're getting money from the government,
Okay.
then
Yeah,
you
dude,
shouldn't have
listen,
that.
I know you're only 16, so I do think that you're going to come out of this position soon. You're going to realize that not only is this going to lead to a lot of harm, but it's literally unattainable. Like, you're not even able to tell me how this would actually work. Would this only work with big tech companies, or would this work with any company that takes a loan? And let's stop with the if you get a percentage, then you're allowed to say the N-word with the soft A thing. Let's actually...
Yeah, I take that back. I take that back.
Okay, great. So if they get a loan from the government, let's just say it's a loan. We don't need to get into specifics. Do you think that that company should then be forced to abide by constitutional standards? So like you already said, you would not be in favor of a car dealership kicking out a person screaming the N-word.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would be. I think that they have some right there. Because it's disrupting customers.
Why? But that doesn't matter. That's not. But whoa. Who cares? That would still be their constitutional right, though, to be saying the N-word.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if they're kicking out someone.
And
from
what if
their
they don't
business that
leave?
is
What's
paid
next?
for-
You're going to call the police? So next the police are going to show up and have to remove someone for their free speech?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I guess like if you're warned multiple times, then maybe.
But why should I be warned? They have to follow the Constitution, right? Hate speech is free speech. The Supreme Court has ruled this. So therefore, I should be allowed to say the N-word. So they can't warn me.
I do think you should be allowed to say the N-word actually in businesses. But I mean, if you're going around screaming anything, disturbing customers, then that's a little bit of a different story.
No, it's not. It's still free speech.
Okay.
So now
Yeah,
you're
I
back
guess-
to my position, which is
And is
private yes, private companies
isn't
should
a
have a
car
right
shop
to
a-
remove
is
people
it-
that are hurting their
but is it-
customers.
But isn't a car shop kind of like a public square? It's a public place.
So is a social media platform.
Yeah, it's a public gathering.
So this doesn't take away the first. Do you realize how your standards here, like they're moving all over the place? I think
mean,
you
not
might want to
really.
think this one through a little bit more,
Okay.
because I think that you ultimately agree with me at the end of the day. You know
No,
for a
I-
fact,
I
yes, you
don't-
know for a fact a car dealership not being able to kick someone out for saying the N-word would be ludicrous and would hurt the business. But that's what would happen with the standards that you're advocating for.
I think that you would have to talk to Congress and the Senate about this and make adjustments. I don't have the perfect plan yet because I'm 16, but I think that they could come up with a good plan that would combat this.
Sure. And listen, I'm a social democrat, so I advocate. I think that there's a reasonable avenue of government regulation, okay, on like some private businesses, of course. For example, with climate change, we need to see government regulation and to make sure that there's a certain, not deadly levels of whatever. Like, I think that there are certainly levels of government regulation there, sure. But what you're advocating for is because they got a government loan, that now means they have to abide by the Constitution. And that's why actually big tech shouldn't be allowed to ban people, is ludicrous and laughable. So yes, regulation can happen, but I don't think you're ever going to get a regulation that says you must follow the Constitution, because that would be turning it into a government entity at the end of the day. And unless you're advocating for some fascist level, collusion between... There's a car alarm going out outside. There it goes. Unless you're advocating for some like collusion, like fascist collusion of like corporations and government, then yeah, I don't think that this is a very good idea.
Really fascist. It's just not all the way libertarian, if you know what I mean.
No,
Like,
hold on. Wait, I already said it's fine with there can be regulations, okay? But what you're advocating for is not regulation. But either way, man,
Yeah,
I hope that you...
I think that... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm going to wrap up the convo, because I really think that you need to think this one through a little bit more. These businesses getting government loans so that they can continue like employing people or paying people or whatever does not turn them into a government entity at all. And it does not hold them to the constitutional standards. Look into it. That's what I'd recommend. All right.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
it.
See ya. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified when I drop a new video.